Welcome to In Good Company, where relationships drive results, with your host, Lisa Kilrea. In each episode, we explore how great leaders build trust, inspire teams, and turn meaningful connections into real success.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining from. I'm very excited to welcome you to our third and final session of WSI's AI Webinars for Manufacturers series. I've introed myself the past two sessions, but if you haven't been able to attend those, I'm Lisa Kilrea, President and Managing Partner of WSI eResults. I've owned and led my WSI agency for approximately 15 years, and I'm really looking forward to spending the next 30 to 40 minutes with you. I also want to introduce Tracy Woods, who will be my co-pilot, helping with any technical issues and keeping track of your questions as they come in. Thanks for taking time out of your busy lives to be here. We have a lot to cover, so let's just jump right in. Let's cover a few admin items. We are recording this webinar, and we'll send the link to everyone who registered. At the end, I'll save a few minutes for Q&A. Please feel free to send your questions through via the Q&A feature. In terms of our agenda, it's pretty simple. I'm going to begin with a quick intro of WSI, again, for those of you who weren't on the first two sessions. Then I'll do a quick recap of sessions 1 and 2. So sort of like when you're streaming a show and you get a recap of season 1 before you begin season 2, I will definitely recap those first two webinar sessions. Then the bulk of our time will be spent taking a deep dive into the AI roadmap. We'll go through some case studies and wrap up with Q&A. Let's jump right in. WSI, who are we? We are a global digital marketing and technology network with over 30 years of experience helping businesses succeed online. As I mentioned, I'm the president of WSI Results, specializing in AI and digital marketing for B2B companies in the manufacturing and distribution space. I'm physically located in Chicago, but our team serves clients who operate nationwide and internationally. With both my team and the strength of WSI's network, we can deliver expertise across every area of AI and digital marketing. Allow me just a quick moment to brag. In the past few weeks, it was announced that WSI was awarded the honor of 2025 Agency of the Year by the Web Marketing Association. This marks the third time in 6 years we've received this award. An achievement, I believe, reflects the talent of our network, the strength of our partnerships, and the strategic mindset behind everything we deliver. Since this webinar series has been focused on AI, I'd like to introduce our AI leadership team, led by Robert Mitchell, our Chief AI Officer. Along with Robert, myself, Kundan, and Seamus, we are supported by a strong group of AI development specialists. At the same time, I don't want to overlook our digital marketing team, who has deep expertise in social media, SEO, paid advertising, content writing. So we've got a full AI and digital marketing team. Let's start with our recap of session 1. We actually went back in time to the 1990s, about 2 years BG before Google. Back then, influencers were predicting that the internet would never take off. Newspapers, they said, would always be how people got their news. And if you wanted to find a plumber, a restaurant, or a local business, you reach for the Yellow Pages. Then, fast forward to November 30th, 2022, when ChatGPT was born. Then, just 3.5 months later, ChatGPT 4 arrived. And by August of this year, we got ChatGPT 5. That's not just progress, that's hyperspeed evolution. We looked at how quickly technology adoption has accelerated over the years. Netflix took 3.5 years to reach 1 million users. Airbnb took 2.5 years. Facebook took 10 months, and ChatGPT took 5 days. That's the fastest adoption of any technology in human history. And it's not just the speed, it's the leap in capability that really is mind-boggling. In the first version of ChatGPT, it scored in the bottom 10% of the bar exam. 3.5 months later, with version GPT-4, it scored in the top 10%. That's an almost unbelievable improvement in such a short time frame. To put in perspective, GPT-4 has an estimated IQ of around 155. Einstein was thought to be around 160, and predictions suggest that within the next year, GPT-4 could reach an IQ equivalent of 1600, or 10 times Einstein's IQ. Now, of course, it's not literally human intelligence, but it shows just how exponential this growth curve really is. We also trace the history of AI because it doesn't just appear overnight. It actually started back in the 1950s. Every decade had its moment, advances in computing power, data, algorithms, but it really wasn't until 2022 when this became mainstream and really became part of our day-to-day life, both personally and professionally. And after setting the stage in session 1, looking back at how we got here and how fast AI has evolved, we moved into session 2, from history to reality. That's where we focused on what's happening right now, how AI is being adopted inside real businesses where it's driving the biggest wins. Basically, in session 2, you'll see on this slide, we walk through the spectrum of AI use, which has 5 stages that show just how broad and powerful AI's applications really are. The goal of that session was to make one key point. AI isn't just one thing, and it's definitely not a one and done. On the far left of the spectrum, we looked at how AI is already built into everyday platforms that many of us are using every single day. On the far right, we explored the most advanced stage, AI agents and copilots. And in between those two, we covered 3 additional stages. For most of session 2, we took a deeper dive into each of these 5 stages with 3 practical examples in every category, showing how manufacturers and distributors can start using AI now at every level of sophistication. Let's pause here because this is one of the most important points in today's discussion. MIT found that 95% of generative AI pilots fail to deliver measurable business impact. 95%. That's staggering. Now, here's the key. These failures aren't happening because the technology doesn't work. The tech is powerful. The real issue is what I call the learning gap. Too often, companies treat AI pilots like science experiments. Imagine this. Someone in marketing signs up for a chatbot pilot because it seems exciting, but there's no alignment with sales, no integration into existing workflows, and no plan to scale if it works. 6 months later, leadership asks, so what did we get out of this? And the honest answer is not much. The pilot was interesting, but it didn't change business. That's what happens when there's no roadmap. Workflows remain brittle. Employees don't know how to use the tools effectively, and there are no feedback loops to refine and improve. So instead of a launch pad for growth, the pilot comes to a dead end. And this is exactly where WSI's AI roadmap comes in. The roadmap is designed to bridge that learning gap to make sure that AI isn't just a cool project on the side, but something directly tied to your business goals, your processes, and the people. It builds in the strategy, structure, and training so you don't end up in that 95%. Instead, you're creating a foundation for AI that actually drives measurable, scalable impact. So don't be part of the 95%. Here's the reality. Most companies get stuck with AI because they jump straight to tools. They chase quick wins without ever putting the right foundation in place. That's why 95% of pilots fail. Our roadmap takes a different approach. It's designed to build AI capabilities step by step, so the organization doesn't just try AI, it learns how to grow with it. We start with foundation, then comes enablement. From there, we move into identification, and finally, we get to implementation and scaling, where the real transformation happens. Successful solutions are built, optimized, and integrated across the entire organization. This is where you move from pilot to enterprise level impact. And we've seen the difference this approach makes. With one client focusing heavily on enablement before jumping into projects led to a 40% improvement in process efficiency in just 6 months, just because the groundwork was solid. So this roadmap isn't just about adapting AI, it's about becoming an AI learning organization, one that does doesn't adapt once, but keeps adapting, keeps improving, and builds long-term competitive advantage. Now let's take a closer look at what the AI adoption roadmap actually looks like in practice. You'll notice it's not just a high-level framework. It's made up of very tangible steps, workshops, surveys, and deliverables. Phase 1 is the foundation. Phase 2 is enablement. Phase 3 is identification, and Phase 4 is implementation and scaling. We'll go through each of these. Up until this point, the roadmap and the processes, you might be wondering, what do you actually get out of each of these phases? That's what this slide is all about in the deliverables. Phase 1, the foundation, we start with clarity and governance. That means an AI vision document, guardrails, and policies, both internal and external. We also help form an AI council and conduct a baseline productivity survey. This gives leadership a clear picture of where the organization stands today and a framework to guide decisions. Phase 2, which is enablement, is where we build capability. Employees go through the AI foundations and intermediate training, and we run a full data inventory and tech stack analysis. There are also office hours for employees to get hands-on support and coaching for the C-suite, and AI champions to make sure leadership is aligned. Then we move into Phase 3, identification. Now, it gets really practical with Phase 3. We work with you to identify and scope specific AI and automation projects and measure productivity lifts so you can quantify results. We also create custom GPTs when needed, tailored to your business. For example, in one recent engagement, a custom GPT replaced a time-consuming manual documentation process, cutting the workload by more than half and saving thousands of hours in the first year. That's the kind of tangible value we're aiming for here. Before we move into Phase 4, which is implementation and scaling. Finally, we present the full roadmap back to leadership, prioritize the right projects, then start implementing. This is an ongoing cycle, continuously identifying, optimizing, and scaling new opportunities as the organization grows and its AI maturity. So when we say roadmap, it's not just conceptual. At every stage, there are real concrete deliverables, documents, training, surveys, reports, working pilots that keep you moving forward and proving impact along the way. Now, moving into a real-life example of a client that went through the WSI AI roadmap process with us. This client is a well-known leading multinational company in the automotive, marine, and motorcycle industries with a long history of innovation and a diverse customer global base. Before we dive in, let's touch on some of the key challenges this client shared with us so we can keep them front and center as we explore potential solutions. Now, let's bring this roadmap to life with this example. This is a snapshot of a company we worked with in their current state when we first began. From a leadership standpoint, they were excited about AI's potential, but they didn't have formal governance or policies in place. There was no dedicated AI team, and IT was outsourced with little AI focus. And this is a big company. In other words, the vision was there, but the structure to execute on it wasn't. Looking at their organization, there was good cross-functional engagement across sales, finance, operations, and marketing, but decisions were still heavily centralized in the back office, which slowed things down. Interestingly, the most enthusiasm and familiarity with AI tools came from the sales and ops team. On the tech side, they had an ERP system running, but it only had partial automation. CRM deployment was just getting started and integration across platforms was limited. There was no AI embedded in their core systems at all. And when we examined their operational challenges, we found things like credit approvals were still very manual and relationship driven, slowing down the sales cycles. Inventory planning was reactive and lacked predictive insights, making decisions more time consuming than they needed to be. This is a classic example of what we see in many organizations. Strong intent and interest in AI, but gaps in governance, systems, and process readiness. And that's why the roadmap is so important. It provides a structured way to move from this kind of current state into a future where AI actually drives measurable impact. Here's the takeaway for you. As I walk through this example, think about your own organization. Do you see similar gaps in leadership structure, in systems integration maybe, in decision making? The roadmap is designed to help you bridge these exact gaps in a way that's tailored to your situation. And imagine for this a moment, what if credit approvals that used to take weeks could be cut down to hours or even minutes? What if your inventory planning shifted from reactive firefighting to predictive data-driven decision-making? These are the kinds of outcomes that become possible when you move from today's current state to a roadmap-driven future with AI. Once we understood the company's current state, the next step was to evaluate their overall AI readiness. Here's what we found. On the leadership side, there was clear interest. Executives recognized AI as a strategic priority, but there was no governance structure, no formal ownership, and no dedicated internal team driving initiatives. In other words, they believed in AI's potential, but didn't yet have the steering wheel to guide it. Across the organization, sales and operations were the most AI aware and actively exploring tools, while other functions were slower to engage. That uneven adoption created gaps in alignment and slowed progress. From a systems perspective, they had a solid platform in place, like their ERP, but much of the work was still manual. Credit processing, pricing updates, inventory planning, CRM was still being deployed, and integration across systems was limited. And at the individual level, employees were experimenting with tools like GPT for communication design support, but because there was no enterprise level enablement or governance, these experiments were scattered and unscalable. When we put it all together, we rated their overall readiness as medium. They had strong foundations and executive interests, but what they lacked was centralized ownership, structured enablement, and an integrated strategy to scale effectively. But here's the takeaway for you. Medium readiness is like having a car with gas in the tank and a willing driver, but no map or GPS. You can move, but you're likely to not reach your destination efficiently. The AI roadmap provides that navigation system. It takes curiosity and potential and turns them into a clear direction with acceleration and measurable results. Let's talk about this company's goals, challenges, and priorities. Once we understood their readiness, which we assessed as medium, the next step was to define a clear strategic goal. For this organization, the goal was simple but powerful. Drive operational efficiency and elevate customer experience through targeted AI integration. That meant three things. 1, automating key processes. 2, improving inventory predictability. And lastly, enabling data-driven decision-making across sales, finance, and post-sales service. But here's the reality. Goals are only meaningful if you're honest about the challenges standing in your way. And this company had some real hurdles to overcome. Their credit approval process was manual and slow, causing sales delays and inconsistent customer experiences. Their technology ecosystem was fragmented, lots of systems, but very little integration, making visibility and automation difficult. Across operations, there was low standardization, which led to inefficiencies and duplicated effort. There's also limited AI governance, which meant higher risks in data usage, security, and knowledge retention. And finally, they were underutilizing their ERP. The tools were there, but not being used to their potential, which restricted agility and timely reporting. Now it's here where I want you to picture the impact of these challenges if these challenges were solved. Imagine if credit approvals that used to take days or weeks were done in minutes. Imagine inventory planning that was no longer reactive but predictive. anticipating demand before it happened. Imagine unified reporting across finance and operations, giving leadership real-time insight to make smarter decisions. And here's the takeaway for you. Every organization has a strategic goal, but it's identifying and addressing these types of challenges that make the goal achievable. That's what the AI roadmap does. It connects aspiration to execution and turns potential into measurable business outcomes. Once we had the strategic goal and challenges laid out, the next step was to identify the priority areas where AI could make the biggest and fastest impact. We focused on 3 core areas: credit pre-approval, operations planning, and post-sale service. For credit approval, this was a major bottleneck in their sales cycle. By automating the validation process using customer ID and historical data and enabling near instant pre-assessment, less than 20 minutes, we could dramatically reduce dropout rates and speed up conversions. Instead of customers waiting days for an answer, they get a decision in that same afternoon. Second, operations planning. Here we applied AI to forecast ideal stock distribution by location and model. That allowed them to optimize allocation, transport, and routing. The result, reduced cost, fewer missed sales, and a much smoother supply chain. And thirdly, post-sales and service. This is where retention and customer experience come into play. We help them implement predictive maintenance reminders and smart scheduling through channels like WhatsApp and automated triage for customer issues. On top of that, we enabled NPS, Net Promoter Score measurement, and targeted upsell offers. So they weren't just solving problems, they were also uncovering new revenue opportunities. Now, imagine this in your company. What if your sales team could approve customers in minutes, not days? What if your inventory was always in the right place at the right time without overstocking or shortages? What if your service teams weren't just reactive but predictive, solving problems before customers even called? That's the power of focusing on the right priority areas. The roadmap turns abstract AI potential into concrete business-changing results. Now let's jump into our approach and solution. One of the most common gaps we see when working with AI organizations is AI literacy. Leadership may be excited and systems might be in place, but employees often don't have the knowledge or confidence to use AI effectively in their daily roles. That's why we start with the AI Foundations Workshop. This is a level 1 session designed to upskill employees at all levels with essential AI knowledge and hands-on skills. It's a focused 2-hour workshop available online or in person. And participants gain 4 things: a foundational understanding of AI concepts and large language models, or LLMs, practical skills like prompting techniques and using tools directly in their work. Third, collaborative learning through team projects that drive creativity and innovation. And then fourth, continued learning resources so they can keep building their skills after the workshop ends. This content is designed to be engaging. We start with the basics, then move quickly into real-world exercises like applying a prompting framework, running a team ideation workshop with ChatGPT-5, or exploring text-to-image tools to generate creative assets. And here's a quick story. In one recent workshop, a marketing team used ChatGPT to brainstorm and sketch out a new product campaign. What normally would have taken them several weeks of back and forth was pulled together in about 20 minutes. That's the kind of light bulb moment we see happen all the time. Takeaway for you: these workshops aren't just about learning AI, they're about building confidence and showing employees what's possible. When people experience firsthand how AI can accelerate their work, it creates momentum that fuels the rest of the roadmap. After the Foundations workshop, we take teams deeper with the AI Intermediate Level 2 workshop. This is designed for employees who already have the basics and are ready to build more advanced skills and apply AI directly to their roles. Like the Level 1 session, it's 2 hours, either available online or in person, capped at 15 participants to keep it interactive and hands-on. However, the focus here is on advanced understanding and practical application. Participants don't just learn AI, they get their hands dirty with custom ChatGPT building, content creation, and scenario-based projects. The content's dynamic. We start with a quick recap, dive into advanced exercises. The highlight is that the GPT Builder activity, where participants create specialized GPTs tailored to real business needs. For example, one group might build a GPT for SEO content creation, another for employee onboarding, and another for customer persona development. The teams share what they built, compare approaches, and learn from each other. By the end, participants walk away with advanced understanding of AI applications, practical skills, collaborative learning, and continuous improvement insights. Here's a quick story. In one workshop, a client's HR team created a custom GPT that turned their 50-page training manual into an interactive QA tool for new hires. What once took hours of manual time of the manager to explain was suddenly accessible in seconds. That's the type of real-world impact Level 2 delivers. Takeaway for you. This is where employees go from experimenting with AI to engineering solutions for their own workflows, making adoption stick and delivering measurable value. Let me pause here and show the difference between Level 1 and Level 2 workshops, because they build off of each other. Level 1 is all about foundations and all about literacy and confidence. Level 2 is intermediate and is about application and creation. Here, participants take those skills further, building those custom GPTs and tackling real business use cases. So you can think of it this way. Level 1 gets your team comfortable using AI. Level 2 empowers them to start engineering AI solutions tailored to your business and their job. Once we identify priority areas, the next step is to dig deeper with what we call deep dive scoping sessions. These sessions are where we roll up our sleeves with your team. The goal is to move from broad opportunities to well-defined actionable projects. Here's what you gain. Clarity on your needs. We map your exact workflows, data sources, and decision points so nothing is overlooked. This ensures we're solving the real problem, not just the visible symptom. Tailored AI concepts. You don't walk away with theory. You get 2 to 3 prioritized use case sketches that directly align with your biggest opportunities. Another area you gain in is ROI-aligned budgeting. We provide preliminary cost estimates tied to projected ROI. That means you can see the business case up front and your budget is right-sized before development begins. And then the last thing that you can gain is alignment on scope. Everyone, your team and ours, walks away on the same page with clear next steps. And the key deliverables make this very tangible. You get a 90-minute interactive workshop with your stakeholders, a process map, and a data stack review that shows exactly where AI fits, and a written scoping brief that summarizes concepts, timelines, and effort ranges. Let me give you a quick example. In one of these sessions with a client, we uncovered that a big source of inefficiency wasn't in the area that they originally suspected. It was buried in a manual approval step that no one realized was holding things up. By mapping it out, we found the hidden bottleneck, and solving just that one issue ended up saving the company thousands of dollars a month. Takeaway from you. These scoping sessions aren't about theory. They're about surfacing insights you might not even know are there and turning them into actionable AI projects with a clear path forward. One of the most important steps we stress is the difference between knowing and doing. Many organizations understand AI's potential, but the real value only comes when you actually put it into practice. That's why we use tools like our AI productivity calculator to give you a tangible sense of the time and cost savings AI can unlock. But remember, these numbers are just indicators. The real impact comes when we move from theory to execution, when we close that knowing-doing gap. And the early results we're seeing are significant. Even after just the foundational training, active users are reporting anywhere from 20 to 60% time savings by integrating AI into their daily workflows. Here's one example. A client in the financial services sector integrated ChatGPT into their research workflow. Just by automating part of the process, writing SQL queries, they cut the time spent on that task by 25%. That freed up their analysts to focus on higher value work. And here's what these outcomes look like in this case study. Faster credit approvals and higher conversion rates, optimized inventory and distribution costs, improved post-sales retention and revenue, and higher data accuracy and lead conversion. Now, imagine this in your organization. What if your team could cut routine work in half and reinvest that time into customer experience, product innovation, or strategic growth? That's the shift from knowing AI's potential to doing AI, and it's where the real transformation begins. At this point, the question is, where should your company start? Do you begin with an AI readiness assessment, or do you jump straight into building a full roadmap? The readiness assessment is a lighter weight option. It's designed for companies who are curious, who may not be sure where they stand, who want a quick snapshot of their strengths, gaps, and opportunities. Think of it like a health checkup. You get a clear diagnostic of where you are today without committing to the full treatment plan yet. On the other hand, the full roadmap is for organizations ready to move beyond exploration and into action. This is where we go deeper, aligning leadership, building literacy, identifying use cases, and mapping out the phases of implementation. If the assessment's a checkup, the roadmap is a full training plan. It doesn't just tell you where you are, it lays out the path to transformation and growth. So the real question for you is, which makes the most sense for your company right now? Do you need clarity on your current state, or are you ready to commit to the journey? The good news is there is no wrong answer. Both paths move you closer to adoption. The choice depends on your readiness and appetite for change. Some of you may recognize this slide from an earlier session, but it's worth revisiting because it answers today's big questions. Where should you start with AI? The truth is, when it comes to AI, the first step should always be strategy. I said this before, and I'll say it again. Just like random acts of marketing don't produce lasting results, random acts of AI won't either. Without a clear plan, the wins are temporary and scattered. That's why we start by helping you identify your biggest opportunities and prioritize them cost-benefit. Once those are in place, you can measure and celebrate results. And the best entry point to this process is our AI readiness assessment. It's just 45 to 60 minutes. We take a deep dive into one business area, typically marketing or sales, using 5 topic categories to guide the conversation. The outcome is a tailored report with recommendations, ROI, calculations, and a clear roadmap that gives you confidence in your next steps. So whether you're just beginning the AI journey or looking to accelerate it, the readiness assessment provides a clear and practical starting point. Let's talk for a minute and recap what the AI assessment could entail. Typically, we'll ask you to come prepared for the call. That means doing a little bit of research ahead of time or pulling in a colleague if they're closer to the details we'll be discussing. We then guide you through 5 main areas. A little bit about your business, how you operate, the context of what you do. Second, your current level of AI adoption and familiarity. We move into how your marketing and sales operations are set up today. We talk about lead generation and sales processes. And finally, we talk about customer engagement personalization. This gives us a clear, well-rounded view of where AI can add the most value for your company in this one area, and gives us the info we need to prepare the initial recommendation or roadmap for you, complete with options, ROI, and cost benefit. An important question to ask yourself is, why is AI relevant right now? Here's why we recommend starting with the readiness assessment sooner rather than later. AI is driving 5 to 10 times ROI for small and mid-sized manufacturers. And the beauty of that is it's affordable. It scales with your business, and you don't need a big in-house tech team. Most importantly, AI can directly help you tackle the challenges manufacturers are feeling every day. Labor shortages, rising inflation, including tariff costs, and intense global competition. That's why this is such a timely opportunity. The companies that start exploring AI now are going to have a serious competitive advantage. Here's where AI gets really practical. It's not just about cool technology. It's about dollars and cents and how AI can help manufacturers offset rising costs. As I mentioned, manufacturers are being hit with rising costs from every angle. The good news is AI can help identify cost savings and efficiency gains that directly offset those challenges. As we begin our final descent, I want to leave you with one simple thought. Whether you're ready for the full roadmap or just starting with a readiness assessment, the time to act is now. The fact is, there are opportunities in every organization that can be leveraged with AI, and when they're not, money is being left on the table. The speed of change with AI is nothing short of staggering. New tools, new efficiencies, and new savings opportunities are emerging every single day. And right now, those that move early are seeing the biggest competitive advantage. So the real question isn't, should we start? It's how quickly we should start. And whether it's through the readiness assessment to get clarity or the full roadmap to set your long-term strategy, both paths move you forward. My request of you today is this: don't delay. Even a small first step today, like assessing your readiness, can position your company to capture inefficiencies and cost savings and new growth opportunities. Now, moving into our case studies. I'm going to cover a couple of these, and then I'm going to move into Q&A just in the interest of time. This example comes from the food and beverage industry, where consistency and quality control are absolutely critical. The challenge for this company was that quality inspections relied heavily on human operators manually checking packaging and labeling. That led to inconsistent detection of defects like mislabels and damaged goods. On top of that, recalls and customer complaints were costly, and the manual inspection process slowed down production lines significantly. To address this, the company deployed an AI-powered computer vision system paired with high-resolution cameras directly on the production line. This solution provided real-time detection of mislabels, damage, or packaging errors, and automatically rejected faulty items without slowing throughput. Beyond just catching errors, the integrated analytics identified recurring defects and their root causes, giving the team actionable insights into preventable issues from happening again. The results were significant: a 95% defect detection rate, 50% fewer recalls and complaints, faster throughput, and an improved brand reputation. As their operations director put it, this system didn't just reduce waste, it transformed production and improved customer trust by ensuring consistent quality. Our next case study shifts to energy optimization and manufacturing. This example is actually from an electronics manufacturer struggling with high energy costs and sustainability goals. The challenge was threefold. Rising energy costs were cutting into margins, machines were often running at peak demand unnecessarily, and there was very little visibility into how energy was actually being used across production lines. To solve this, we implemented an AI-driven energy monitoring and optimization platform. The system made real-time adjustments to machine usage, shifted non-critical operations to off-peak hours, and provided integrated dashboards so management could track usage, costs, and reductions in emissions. The impact was impressive: 18% lower energy costs, 25% fewer peak surcharges, clear progress towards sustainability targets, and a positive ROI in less than 9 months. As the plant manager put it, AI optimization doesn't just save thousands of dollars each month, also gave them measurable improvements they could report back to customers, strengthening the brand reputation as a green manufacturer. This case really demonstrates how AI can align cost savings and sustainability, a win-win for both operations and the environment. With that, I'm going to bring this full circle by coming back to one of the most important points we discussed today. MIT found that 95% of generative AI pilots fail to deliver measurable business impact. 95%. But after walking through the roadmap, exploring client examples, reviewing case studies, you can see why these numbers don't have to apply to you. The failures don't happen because the technology is weak. The tech is powerful. They happen because companies skip the rigor. No roadmap, no alignment across teams, and no integration into workflows, and no plan to scale. What today has shown, hopefully, is that when you do put the right structure in place, when you prioritize opportunities, start with measurable wins, and build feedback loops, AI becomes more than a pilot. It becomes a growth engine. That's why this roadmap matters. And it's the difference between being part of the 95% who stall out and the 5% who achieve impressive, quantifiable results. With the right discipline, you can justify the investment, scale confidently, and truly benefit from the AI revolution. So before we shift to questions, here's your best first step, the AI readiness assessment. Please reach out. I am more than happy to give you a complimentary 45 to 60-minute assessment to help you start proving ROI from AI in as little to 30 to 60 days. I hope today gave you fresh insights into what AI can mean to your business. I appreciate all your attendance for our AI for Manufacturers webinar series. Now let's dive into some questions. Looks like we've got time for about one or two. How long does it usually take to see measurable ROI from AI? Honestly, it's faster than most people expect. Once a focused pilot is launched, most manufacturers start seeing measurable results within 30 to 60 days. For example, the example I used with automating credit approvals or scheduling can free up time, reduce errors, increase throughput almost immediately. The key is to start small and then document the wins and then scale from there. So you don't need a year-long rollout to prove impact. Here's another question. How do you keep AI adoption moving once the pilot phase ends? That's an excellent question also. That's where governance and recognition come in. Create an internal AI council, set clear guardrails, and celebrate early wins. When teams see success stories shared internally, hey, we cut quote time by 50%, it builds excitement and momentum for the next wave of adoption. Hopefully that answered both your questions. Obviously, if you have other questions that we were not able to get to, please feel free to reach out directly to me. I enjoyed our time together, and once again, thank you for attending our webinar series for manufacturers. Have a great rest of the week.
Thanks for listening to In Good Company, where relationships drive results, with Lisa Kilrea. Be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay connected and keep building relationships that drive results.